Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
Beneath the skin of the world, there is a whisper too small for the ear to catch. It is not the sound of wind through branches or the slow hum of the earth at night, but the trembling of particles that make everything we know. These tiny dancers, invisible to our eyes, are the building blocks of reality itself. To slow down and listen to them is to enter a quieter realm, where time moves gently and even silence has a pulse. Quantum physics is the study of this hidden place, the delicate theater of the very small, where rules bend like reeds in a stream and certainty gives way to possibility. Imagine a speck of dust caught in a ray of sunlight drifting through a window. That speck itself is made of countless atoms, and each atom holds a nucleus orbited by electrons like planets around a star. But when we look closer, the neatness fades. The electrons are not like tiny marbles spinning in circles. They are clouds of presence, spread out, uncertain, existing in many possible positions at once. This is the first whisper of the quantum world. Particles are not only things, they are also maybes. They shimmer in a haze of possibility, and it is only when we pay attention that one path becomes real. Scientists first discovered this truth in surprising ways. In the early 20th century, a beam of light was shown to behave both like waves and like particles. It was as though the universe could not decide what costume to wear, shimmering between one identity and another. This duality unsettled minds, because in our everyday lives a thing is either this or that, never both at the same time. Yet here was light slipping between roles, teaching us that the fabric of reality is softer, more fluid than we had imagined. This idea, once only a whisper, became a door into the strange world of quantum mechanics. To understand this world, picture the ocean at night. The water moves in slow waves, rolling toward the shore, and each crest carries the memory of something far away. Now imagine if, instead of water, it was possibility itself that rippled forward. This is what quantum waves are, not waves of matter, but waves of chance. An electron does not live in one place until measured. It drifts as a cloud of maybes, spreading out across the ocean of possibility. Only when we look, only when we touch it with our attention, does it collapse into a single droplet of reality. This is the mystery known as the collapse of the wave function, and though the words are heavy, the meaning is light as a feather. The act of noticing changes what is noticed. Think of a cat in a box, a story told by Erwin Schrödinger. The cat may be alive or it may be dead, depending on the dance of particles inside. But until we open the box, it exists in both states at once, suspended between worlds. The story is not about cats, but about the deep strangeness of reality itself, where possibilities rest together like chords of music waiting to be played. To say the cat is both alive and dead is uncomfortable, yet the mathematics whispers that it is so. The box hides the truth, and our act of looking writes the ending. Now let us drift deeper. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a forest. Every path stretches before you, branching and twisting, and in that first moment of choice, all of them are possible. You could walk left or right or linger where you are, and each path exists as a shadow of possibility until you move. The quantum world is like this forest, filled with roads that are not yet chosen. A particle may travel through one door or another, and strangely, sometimes it travels through both at once, weaving patterns of interference that remind us of ripples crossing a pond. The famous double-slit experiment showed this to be true. A single electron can act as though it walks many paths, and only when we watch does it choose. This is the heart of quantum mystery. Our daily lives are built on certainty. The sun rises, water boils, a stone falls when dropped. But beneath these certainties lies a softer foundation, one built of probabilities and hidden chances. Reality is not a rigid wall, but a shimmering veil, shifting with the weight of attention. Some scientists call this the quantum enigma, a puzzle where observer and observed are entangled in a quiet dance. We cannot watch without leaving footprints. We cannot measure without changing the measured. It is as if the universe is shy, reshaping itself beneath our gaze. As we listen to these whispers, it is important to move slowly. Quantum physics is not a storm to rush through, but a river to drift upon. Let us linger at the idea that particles, the smallest building blocks, are not truly solid. They are patterns of energy, vibrations of a deeper field, flickering in and out of existence like fireflies in the dark. The universe is not built of bricks, but of songs, resonances that hum together to form the illusion of solidity. When you press your hand against the table, you feel firm. Yet in truth, there is mostly empty space, and what holds you up is the invisible dance of repulsion between tiny charges. Solidity is the echo of forces, not the weight of substance. In the quiet of night, you can almost imagine it. The atoms in your bones humming like strings, the electrons moving in their soft clouds, the protons trembling with the pulse of hidden fields. You are not made of matter alone, but of patterns, of possibilities woven into flesh. The whisper of particles is within you as much as around you. Every thought is an electrical storm guided by quantum chance. Every memory is a pattern of molecules, shifting slightly each time you recall it. You are not separate from the quantum world. You are its unfolding story, told at a scale large enough to dream. Scientists spend lifetimes exploring this hidden realm, and still it eludes them. Equations describe it, but equations are like maps of a misty forest, precise, yet never capturing the softness of being there. Quantum mechanics has given us gifts: lasers, computers, MRI machines, all born from understanding the dance of particles. Yet the mystery remains. We know how to use the rules, but not fully what they mean. Do particles truly exist in many places at once? Or is our view incomplete, a shadow of a deeper truth yet to come? Some say the universe splits into many, each possibility played out in parallel. Others say the wave is real, a vast field of chance that collapses with a choice. And still others wonder if reality itself is a dream of mathematics, unfolding like a poem without end. As this section draws gently toward its pause, imagine closing your eyes and listening again to the whisper. Beneath the noise of the day, beneath the hum of cities and the chatter of thought, there is the faint pulse of particles, shifting and shimmering in their unseen dance. They are the secret storytellers, weaving the fabric of existence one trembling step at a time. To know them is not to hold them, for they cannot be held, but to rest within the wonder they inspire. The quantum world is not only a subject of science, but a lullaby of uncertainty, teaching us that even the smallest things are filled with endless possibility. And as we drift in that thought, the whisper becomes a comfort, reminding us that reality itself is softer, gentler, and more mysterious than it seems. To linger with the whisper of particles is to realize that the world we see is only a shadow of what truly exists. Our senses were shaped for survival, for finding fruit, for hearing the rustle of danger, for walking steady on the earth. But the quantum world was never meant for human eyes. It unfolds in scales smaller than atoms, in times briefer than a flash of light, in distances so delicate they could slip through the weave of thought itself. And yet, through imagination and mathematics, we step gently into this unseen garden. Every discovery opens another petal, and within each petal there is another mystery waiting to bloom. Let us drift deeper into the patterns. The electron, that elusive wanderer, does not travel like a marble across a floor. It travels like a melody through the air, spreading, overlapping, forming chords of possibility. When two melodies meet, they can interfere, sometimes swelling into harmony, sometimes canceling into silence. Electrons, too, interfere with themselves, as though they are both the player and the music, both the dancer and the dance. This is why when passed through two slits, a single particle paints a pattern of waves, revealing the strangeness of its dual nature. To call it particle or wave is too simple. It is both or neither, or something softer than either word can carry. We can imagine electrons as whispers of clouds, drifting around the nucleus of the atom, but they are not wandering aimlessly. They live in shapes called orbitals, which resemble flowers, spheres, and petals spun from invisible light. These shapes are the fingerprints of energy itself, the patterns born from equations that echo like songs across the emptiness of space. Every atom in your body is organized by these quiet symmetries. The oxygen you breathe, the carbon that builds your bones, the iron that carries life through blood, each element is defined by the quantum rules of its tiny orchestra. If those rules were even slightly different, the stars would burn another way, and life would be written in an alphabet we could not read. The quantum world does not only sculpt atoms, it also holds the secret to bonds, the invisible bridges that tie atoms together into molecules. Imagine two dancers reaching for one another, hands overlapping, steps intertwining. When electrons share their patterns, atoms join and new forms emerge. Water flows from two gases joined by quantum handshakes. Proteins twist into living machines through chains of bonds, each link a decision made in the soft language of electrons. Without quantum rules, chemistry would unerr. Aval and the poetry of life would fall silent. Every breath you take is a verse written by particles learning to dance together. Now let us consider another whisper, entanglement. If two particles meet and share a moment, they become bound in a way that defies distance. Like two notes of a song that continue to resonate no matter how far apart they are carried, entangled particles remain connected. Change one and the other feels it instantly, as if the thread of their shared history stretches across the universe. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, for it seemed too strange, too fast to be real. But experiments have shown it true. Entanglement is not an illusion, but a deep truth of the quantum world. It suggests that separateness itself is softer than we believe, that even across galaxies, reality hums with hidden connection. This idea ripples into thought itself. If particles are connected beyond distance, then perhaps all things share a deeper fabric, woven from the same loom. The boundaries we draw between self and world, between here and there, may be like lines in the sand, shifting with the tide. Entanglement invites us to imagine the universe as one great organism, every part whispering to the whole. To rest with this image is to feel less alone, to sense that every heartbeat and every star pulse are woven together, like notes in a cosmic lullaby. Time, too, bends under the light of quantum mechanics. In our ordinary days, time marches forward, second by second, with the steadiness of a clock's hand. But in the quantum world, time is not so certain. Particles tunnel through barriers as if walls were mist. They decay and transform in rhythms that can only be predicted as probabilities, not certainties. To watch them is to watch a world where cause and effect shimmer, where the arrow of time hesitates before taking its next step. Some theories suggest that time itself may be born from entanglement, that the ticking of the universe arises from the way particles become woven together. If so, then time is not an external ruler, but an inner rhythm, a music carried in the relationships between things. This uncertainty is not a flaw, it is the source of freedom. If the universe were rigid, if every moment followed with absolute certainty from the last, then the story would already be written from beginning to end. But the quantum world, with its probabilities and chances, keeps the future soft, like clay waiting to be shaped. In the heart of an atom, uncertainty is the rule, and from that rule emerges creativity, growth, and the possibility of change. Even the act of life itself may depend upon this softness, for without uncertainty, there would be no choices, no novelty, no song to unfold. Quantum physics has also given us gifts more tangible, though no less wondrous. The devices we hold in our hands, the computers that sing across the world, the screens that glow like modern campfires, all depend on quantum rules. Semiconductors, which carry currents in precise patterns, are born from the way electrons leap between levels, guided by the mathematics of the small. Lasers shine because photons, the particles of light, can march in perfect step, an army of brightness born from quantum harmony. Even the medical machines that peer gently into our bodies, mapping the flow of blood and thought, rely on principles first whispered by particles. It is as though we have learned to borrow the language of the quantum world, turning whispers into tools that shape our days. Yet despite these triumphs, the mystery remains. For every question answered, another blooms. Is the wave function, that delicate haze of possibilities, a real thing, or just a story we tell to predict outcomes? Does the universe split into many, with each possibility unfolding in a parallel world, unseen but real? Or does reality only crystallize when observed, as though consciousness itself plays a role in shaping the cosmos? These are questions that bend the mind, that lie at the border between science and philosophy. And though no final answer has yet emerged, the questions themselves are part of the wonder. To ask them is to sit at the edge of the unknown, listening to the hush of what has not yet been revealed. When you step outside at night and gaze upward, you see stars burning in their quiet brilliance. Yet each photon of starlight travels for ages through the cosmos, a particle and a wave, until it meets your eye. In that meeting, it becomes real, completing a journey across time. The same is true of every glance, every moment of awareness. The universe collapses into shape as we behold it. We are not separate from the quantum world, but participants in its unfolding, threads woven into the same tapestry of chance. The starlight that enters your gaze is a whisper of ancient particles, and in catching them, you become part of their story. The quantum world, for all its strangeness, also offers comfort. It reminds us that nothing is fixed in stone, that uncertainty is not chaos but possibility. It teaches us that even the smallest things are filled with richness, that the universe is deeper than appearances suggest. To drift with these thoughts is to feel a gentleness in the unknown, as though reality itself is a dream we are invited to wander. Each question is not a barrier but a doorway, each paradox a poem waiting to be read. And though the mathematics may be intricate, the feeling it leaves is simple: awe, wonder, and a deep sense of connection to the hidden hum beneath all things. As we close this section, let us return to the whisper. Imagine the air around you filled with invisible notes, particles drifting like music, their song unheard yet always present. They carry the weight of galaxies and the softness of silence. They weave your body and the stars in the same quiet language. To listen is to remember that you, too, are made of this mystery, a breathing expression of quantum possibility. And as the night deepens, you can almost feel the particles hum, carrying the story onward, inviting you to rest in their gentle, endless dance. When we step again into the quantum world, we find ourselves surrounded by questions that unfold like mist in the morning air. Each question glows softly, never urgent, never harsh, but carrying the gentle pull of curiosity. What truly lies beneath the smallest scales of nature? What is it that allows a particle to be both wave and thing, both possibility and presence? The more carefully we listen, the more we realize that the whisper of particles is not only a story of physics, but also a reflection of how we see ourselves and how we find our place in the vastness of existence. The whisper tells us that reality is not as rigid as stone. It bends, it shifts, it shimmers with possibility. At the edge of every observation lies uncertainty, a reminder that what we think we know is only one path among many. The double-slit experiment, that simple arrangement of slits and screens, still echoes through science like a riddle sung by the universe itself. Each electron that passes through those openings tells us that the world is not built of simple certainties. Instead, it is woven of probabilities, of hidden chances that blossom into form only when noticed. To accept this is to accept that life itself is written in probabilities, and that we too walk paths that could have been others. Now let us think of the particles not as abstract points, but as companions in the great unfolding of the cosmos. Every atom in your body was once part of a star, and before that, part of a cloud of hydrogen born from the birth of the universe. The particles that whisper within you are ancient travelers, carrying memories of explosions, of light streaming across voids, of bonds formed and broken in the silent dark. They drifted through billions of years before arriving here, within you, to weave the fabric of your being. To realize this is to feel time stretch like a ribbon, connecting you to the birth of galaxies, to the quiet tremble of the first atoms cooling in a universe that had only just begun to breathe. Quantum mechanics also brings us face to face with the question of measurement of attention. When a particle exists in many possible states, it seems to wait for an observer, for some contact that turns the haze of maybes into one unfolding fact. But who is the observer? Is it a person with eyes and mind? Or is it any interaction, even the touch of one particle upon another? The whispers are not clear, and scientists still debate. Yet in the quiet of thought, you can almost feel the meaning drift beyond physics. To notice something, to give it attention, is to change it. To see the world is to help write it. The act of awareness is itself a kind of participation in creation. Entanglement, too, reminds us of the hidden unity beneath apparent separation. Two particles that have once touched will sing the same song, no matter how far they drift apart. This truth, proven again and again, seems like a poem about love written by the universe itself. Connection that distance cannot dissolve, memory that no separation can erase. Some thinkers even suggest that the whole cosmos is woven together by such threads, an endless net of entanglement stretching through space and time. To imagine this is to imagine that everything we see is not isolated, but joined in ways too subtle for our eyes. You and I, the stars and the dust, may all be part of one soft, whispering whole. The question of reality itself lingers. Some interpretations suggest that every possibility is real, that when a particle chooses one path, other worlds bloom where it chose the others. These worlds remain invisible to us, like dreams we never entered, but in their silence they continue, each as real as our own. If this is so, then every choice we make is not a single step, but a branching of rivers, flowing endlessly into seas of posse. By Liddy, other interpretations whisper that there is only one universe, but that its heart is softer, less defined than we believe. The wave function is not many worlds, but a single haze, collapsing not because of choice, but because of deeper rules we do not yet know. And some say reality itself may be nothing but information, patterns of quantum bits flickering like fireflies, weaving existence the way language weaves a poem. The beauty of these ideas is not in their certainty, but in their openness. The quantum world does not give us final answers, but instead offers us a gentle reminder. Reality is mysterious, and we are participants in that mystery. The equations work, the experiments succeed, but the meaning remains elusive, like a bird that sings from the branches and then takes flight before we see it. To live with this uncertainty is not a burden, but a gift. It teaches patience, humility, and wonder. It allows us to walk softly through life, knowing that even the ground beneath our feet is more mysterious than it appears. And so we return to the particles themselves. They are not only the foundation of physics, but also the foundation of our story. The neurons that fire in your mind, sparking thought and memory, follow the rules of quantum chance. The light that reflects from these words into your eyes is carried by photons, each one a messenger from the quantum world. The warmth you feel, the breath you take, the rhythm of your pulse, all of it is written in the quiet script of the very small. To sit with this knowledge is to feel the closeness of the universe, as if it were whispering directly to you, telling you that you are not separate from the dance, but part of its unfolding song. Imagine standing by a still pond at twilight. You toss a pebble and ripples spread outward, crossing, overlapping, softening into silence. Now imagine that each ripple is a probability, each wave a chance, each crossing an interference of paths that could have been. This is the quantum world made visible, not rigid lines, but flowing ripples of possibility. The pond is your life, and every choice, every thought, every interaction is another pebble, another set of ripples shaping the whole. You cannot know in advance exactly how they will meet, but you can watch them unfold and rest in the beauty of the patterns they create. As this first story closes, let us settle into its quiet lesson. The whisper of particles is not only about physics, it is about listening. It is about learning to hear the faint pulse beneath appearances, the soft hum that underlies everything. It is about remembering that uncertainty is not emptiness but possibility. That entanglement is not just science, but a metaphor for connection. That even the smallest things carry wonder, and that in paying attention, we become part of the mystery itself. The quantum world does not demand that we solve it. It invites us to dwell in it, to let it soften our edges, to remind us that reality is a poem still being written. So let us leave the whisper as it is, quiet, mysterious, comforting. Let us carry it with us as we move through the day, as we drift into dreams, as we sit beneath the stars. The particles will continue their dance, unseen yet always present, humming softly at the heart of existence. And if you listen closely enough, with patience and with wonder, you might almost hear them, the faint, eternal whisper of the smallest things, carrying the story of the universe in every trembling note. Beneath the surface of what we see, there is an ocean that is not made of water. It is not the sea that rolls against the shore, nor the river that winds through valleys, nor the clouds that gather and fall as rain. This ocean is quieter, deeper, and far more mysterious. It is the ocean of possibility, the hidden sea that quantum physics reveals when we look closely enough at the world. Every particle, every wave, every breath of light drifts upon this invisible water, moving in ways both certain and uncertain, both near and infinite. To understand this ocean is not to conquer it, but to drift gently upon its surface, listening to the soft rhythm of chance and connection. When we think of the ocean, we imagine its waves, rising and falling, carrying energy across great distances. In the quantum world, too, there are waves, but these are not made of water nor of air. They are waves of probability, ripples of possibility that spread through space. A particle does not live in one fixed place until it is noticed. Instead, it is described by a wave function, a mathematical song that stretches outward, assigning weight to every possible path. Just as a wave in the sea touches every grain of sand along the shore, the quantum wave touches every possible outcome, hinting at all the futures that might unfold. Close your eyes and picture this sea. Imagine a stone dropped into still water. The ripples move outward, soft circles widening, each crest carrying th. Memory of the stone's fall. Now imagine that instead of water, the ripples are possibilities. Each crest is a place where a particle might be found, each trough a silence where it might not. The wave is not the thing itself, but the pattern of chance. It does not say where the particle is, but where it could be. This is the quantum ocean, invisible yet present, shaping the foundations of reality with its endless, gentle movement. To see this truth, scientists turned again to the experiment of slits and screens. When particles such as electrons are sent one by one through two openings, they form patterns of waves, as though each particle is not simply a marble tossed through space, but a ripple that spreads and interferes with itself. And yet, when observed closely, the same particles behave like solid points, as if the ocean of possibilities has suddenly collapsed into a single drop. This strange duality, wave and particle, probability and presence, is the essence of the ocean beneath reality. It tells us that the universe is not fixed until it is touched, not complete until it is seen. This ocean is not only vast, it is also restless. Particles do not sit still, waiting patiently for us to discover them. They shimmer, they fluctuate, they flicker in and out of existence. Even the emptiness of space is not truly empty, but seethes with activity, a restless surface of virtual particles appearing and vanishing in rhythms we can barely imagine. Physicists call this the quantum vacuum, but to picture it more gently, we can think of it as the quiet tide beneath all things, an eternal background hum that nourishes the world with possibility. From this sea of fluctuations, the universe draws its subtle strength. It is comforting to imagine the ocean of possibilities as something outside us, surrounding the stars and atoms, flowing endlessly through the cosmos. But in truth, we are part of it. The neurons that fire in your brain, shaping thought and memory, rely on the delicate play of electrons, each guided by quantum probabilities. The very act of remembering, of imagining, of dreaming, is tied to the soft ripples of this hidden sea. You are not separate from the ocean. You are a wave upon its surface, carried forward by its currents, dissolving back into its stillness. To live is to drift upon the quantum tide. Consider the way light behaves in this ocean. Light is a wave spreading out in ripples of brightness and shadow, but it is also made of photons, particles that arrive like raindrops upon the skin of reality. Each photon is guided by the ocean of probabilities, moving as though through every path at once until it meets your eye. And in that moment, its many possibilities collapse into one. The starlight you see at night traveled for ages across the void, guided by this strange sea, until it landed gently in your vision. In that meeting, you and the photon shared a moment of destiny, as if the ocean itself had chosen you as its shore. This ocean also holds the mystery of superposition. A particle can exist in more than one state at once, like a chord played on a piano instead of a single note. It is only when measured that the chord collapses into a single sound. Imagine a bird perched in a tree at twilight. For a moment, it may leap to one branch or another, and until it moves, both possibilities seem alive. The quantum world teaches us that particles, too, live in this twilight, perched in many possibilities, fluttering upon the branches of chance. Only when the ocean is disturbed does the bird settle, only then does the note resolve. Some thinkers have compared this to a dream. In dreams, places shift and dissolve, and moments exist both here and there, both now and then. The logic of waking life softens, and we move through possibilities as if through water. The quantum ocean is not a dream, but it carries a similar softness. It tells us that the universe is not rigid, that its foundations are written in fluid script. We may wish for certainties, for solid truths, but beneath them lies this gentler rhythm, this ebb and flow of chance and possibility. To know this is not to feel lost, but to feel free. For if everything were fixed, if the world were rigid stone, then the story would already be written. But in the ocean of possibilities, new stories can always unfold. The ocean beneath reality is also deeply connected to time. In our daily lives, time flows forward, second after second, with the steady tick of a clock. But in the quantum sea, time is softer. Particles may move backward or forward in ways that defy ordinary thought. In some interpretations, the wave function itself is timeless, a vast pattern that holds all possibilities at once, outside the flow of hours and days. To drift into this idea is to imagine that the universe is not a film playing frame by frame, but a great tapestry woven all at once, every thread shimmering with possibility. Time, in this view, is not the march of moments, but the way we experience the unfolding of the ocean. Even the vacuum of space, which seems empty and silent, is filled with energy. Virtual particles rise and fall like bubbles in deep water, fleeting but real in their effects. These fluctuations may even shape the expansion of the universe itself, driving the stars apart with a quiet force we call dark energy. It is as if the ocean beneath reality is not still, but always breathing, always rippling, always carrying the universe forward. When you look up at the night sky and see the galaxies drifting away from each other, you are watching the surface of this hidden sea, expanding into the infinite. To sit with these thoughts is to feel small but also connected. The quantum ocean is not far away, it is within you, around you, part of you. Every cell of your body is a ripple upon it, every heartbeat a moment carried by its current. And yet, though we are part of it, we cannot master it. We can only drift gently, listening to its whispers, marveling at its patterns, wondering at its mysteries. To know the ocean is not to control it, but to float upon it, to let its rhythms carry us like waves in the night. As we pause here, let us rest in the image of that hidden sea. Beneath the solidity of tables and stones, beneath the warmth of stars and the pulse of life, lies this quiet ocean of probability. It is invisible, but it holds everything. It is uncertain, but it gives rise to all certainty. To imagine it is to feel a softness in the world, a sense that nothing is ever final, and that everything is always open, always possible. The ocean beneath reality is not a storm to fear, but a lullaby to rest within, a reminder that the universe is wider, gentler, and more mysterious than we can see. To drift further into the ocean beneath reality is to let go of the desire for firm edges. On the surface of the sea, we may cling to boats and coastlines, to maps and directions. But beneath the surface, in the deep quiet of possibility, the rules are softer and the currents are vast. The quantum ocean does not obey the logic of our daily lives. It carries us into paradoxes, into mysteries, into the shimmering places where one thing can also be another, and where certainty dissolves into gentle probability. To swim in this ocean is to surrender, to trust its quiet movement, and to allow wonder to replace certainty. One of the most delicate currents in this ocean is superposition, the ability of a particle to exist in many states at once. It is as if a drop of rain could fall along many paths simultaneously, touching many leaves, glistening in many places, until at last it settles into one. When scientists describe an electron or a photon in superposition, they are not imagining it dividing into copies of itself, but rather describing the ocean of possibilities that surrounds it. Until disturbed, the particle is all possibilities at once, like a whisper that carries many meanings. It is only when measured, only when touched, that the whisper resolves into a single word. This idea stretches beyond particles into the world of thought. Every decision we make begins in a sea of possibilities. We may walk here or there, we may speak or stay silent. In those moments before choice, we live in superposition, carrying many futures within us. Then with a step, with a word, the wave collapses, and one path becomes real. To reflect on this is to see how deeply the ocean beneath reality flows into our lives. The same principles that guide electrons also shape the way we move through time, not with rigid destiny, but with soft possibility. Entanglement is another current in this hidden sea, and it carries us into even deeper waters. When two particles meet and interact, they can become entangled, sharing a connection that no distance can break. If one particle is measured, the other responds instantly, even if they are separated by galaxies. This is not a communication in the ordinary sense, but a reflection of the fact that they are no longer truly separate. They are part of one shared wave function, one spread of possibility. To think of this is to imagine the ocean as a single body of water. A ripple at one end of the sea will eventually touch the other, for all is connected beneath the surface. Experiments have shown again and again that entanglement is real, that it cannot be explained away as hidden information or secret signals. The universe itself insists that separateness is less absolute than we once thought. And so in the quiet of thought, we may wonder, if particles can remain connected across vast distances, might we too be connected in ways unseen? Every atom of our bodies has touched countless others across the ages. Every particle within us has shared moments of entanglement with the wider universe. Perhaps the ocean beneath reality is not only physical, but also a metaphor for the hidden bonds that tie all things together. This ocean is also restless. As in time, particles do not always obey the arrow that points forward. They may tunnel through barriers that should confine them, appearing on the other side as if the wall had dissolved. They may decay in ways that can only be predicted as likelihoods, never certainties. To watch them is to watch a dance that is never fully choreographed, always open to surprise. Some physicists even imagine that the wave function itself does not experience time as we do. It holds all moments at once, a timeless spread of possibility, and it is only when we measure, when we observe, that time seems to flow like a current. If so, then the ocean is not bound by hours or days. It is eternal, present all at once, carrying all futures and all pasts in its stillness. When we apply this to the cosmos itself, we see that the entire universe may be afloat on the quantum sea. The stars, the galaxies, the great web of matter and light, all rest upon the fluctuations of the vacuum, the restless tide of possibility. Even the birth of the universe may have risen from this ocean, a fluctuation that blossomed into space and time. To think of this is to imagine creation itself as a ripple, a wave that rose from the stillness and has been unfolding ever since. The Big Bang, that first breath of existence, may not have been the beginning of everything, but a crest in the ocean, a bloom of possibility from an eternal sea. The energy of this ocean also shapes the present. Virtual particles rising and falling in the vacuum give rise to forces that hold atoms together, that allow stars to shine, that guide the paths of planets. Even the mysterious dark energy that drives galaxies apart may be rooted in the quiet energy of the vacuum. It is as though the ocean beneath reality not only gave birth to the cosmos, but continues to sustain it, its hidden waves shaping the largest structures as well as the smallest particles. In this way, the entire universe can be seen as one great expression of the sea, a ripple that stretches across time and space. And yet, for all its strangeness, the ocean beneath reality has become a source of technology in our daily lives. Quantum mechanics has given rise to semiconductors, lasers, superconductors, and soon perhaps quantum computers, which may harness the power of superposition and entanglement to perform calculations beyond imagination. These are not just machines, they are echoes of the hidden sea, instruments that allow us to borrow the rhythms of the quantum world. Each advance is a reminder that the ocean, though mysterious, can also be practical, guiding not only our wonder but also our tools, shaping the way we live and dream. But the mystery is not solved by technology. Each answer leads to new questions, each wave reveals a deeper depth. Is the wave function itself real or only a tool for prediction? Do many worlds exist, branching with every possibility, or is there only one, collapsing softly into being as we observe it? Does consciousness play a role, or is the ocean indifferent, unfolding whether or not we watch? These questions are not walls but doorways, inviting us to step deeper into the unknown. And though we may never reach a final answer, the journey itself is part of the wonder, the drifting upon the ocean's surface as it carries us toward unseen horizons. To rest in this thought is to feel a sense of peace. The ocean beneath reality is vast, and we are small, but we are also part of it. We rise from its depths, live upon its surface, and return to its stillness. Every breath, every thought, every heartbeat is a ripple upon it. The uncertainties we face in life are reflections of the uncertainties at the heart of matter itself. And just as particles find their place only when observed, we too find our paths only when chosen. The ocean does not give us certainty, but it gives us possibility, and in possibility there is freedom. As this section comes gently to rest, imagine yourself floating upon this sea. Beneath you stretch endless currents of chance. Above you shines the light of countless stars, each born from the same hidden tide. You are carried not by destiny, but by the quiet movement of probabilities, the soft rhythm of the quantum ocean. To drift here is to understand that life is not rigid stone but flowing water, not fixed fate but unfolding possibility. And as you listen to the hush of the hidden sea, you realize that it is not only beneath reality, but within you, around you, carrying you gently onward. To linger still within the ocean beneath reality is to accept that there are depths we will never measure, tides we will never chart, mysteries that will always move beyond the reach of language. Yet this does not diminish the ocean. It makes it greater, richer, more alive. The hidden sea of quantum possibility is not only a framework for science, but a metaphor for our own place within the cosmos. Just as the waves of probability shape the dance of particles, so too does uncertainty shape the story of life. And as we listen more closely, we find that the quantum ocean is not a distant abstraction, but a presence that moves through every breath and every star. The ocean teaches us about humility. We once thought that the world was solid, fixed, a stage upon which we acted. But the deeper we looked, the more we discovered that solidity is only an illusion. Beneath the stone is emptiness, beneath the atom is a wave of chance, beneath certainty is possibility. To accept this is to surrender the need for control and instead to embrace the gentler truth that the universe is alive with softness. It does not demand that we solve it, only that we honor its mystery. The ocean of reality does not shout its secrets. It whispers, and those whispers are enough. In this ocean, we also find connection. Entanglement tells us that particles separated by galaxies remain part of the same wave, singing the same hidden song. To imagine this is to see the universe not as a collection of separate things, but as one vast body, each part reflecting the whole. If two photons can remain bound across the emptiness of space, perhaps everything carries such hidden threads. Perhaps we too are entangled with the stars, with the forests, with each other, woven together in ways too subtle for our eyes. The ocean beneath reality is not a place of isolation, but of communion, reminding us that even in silence, nothing is truly alone. This connection extends to time itself. In the quantum sea, the future is not yet fixed, and the past is not entirely closed. Both shimmer with possibility, like reflections in water disturbed by the wind. When a particle decays, we cannot say when, only that it might. When it moves, we cannot predict where, only the likelihood of its path. Time in this sense is not a rigid arrow, but a gentle unfolding, a current that flows with hidden eddies and swirls. And we, floating upon this current, find that our own lives mirror this softness. The future is always uncertain, always open, always shaped by choices not yet made. To live in the ocean is to accept that uncertainty is not a flaw, but the very source of meaning. The ocean also speaks of creativity. If everything were predetermined, if the universe were carved in stone, there would be no room for novelty, no space for change. But the quantum sea allows for freedom. Each wave of probability holds countless possibilities, and from those something new can emerge. Life itself may owe its existence to this openness, to the way molecules explored countless paths until one gave rise to the rhythms of breath and growth. Even thought may depend upon the uncertainty of particles, the tiny fluctuations that spark neurons into firing, giving birth to ideas, dreams, and imagination. The ocean beneath reality is not only a sea of physics, but a cradle of creativity, nurturing every song, every story, every life. And so we arrive at the question of meaning. What does it mean that the universe is built not on certainties, but on probabilities? For some, it is unsettling, a reminder that nothing can be predicted with absolute assurance. But for others, it is comforting, a reminder that nothing is closed, that all remains open. To see the world as possibility is to live with hope, to recognize that change is always possible, that surprise is always near. The quantum ocean tells us that the universe is not a machine grinding forward without pause. It is a living sea, always in motion, always full of potential, and we, drifting upon it, are part of its unfolding song. The ocean beneath reality also invites us to reflect upon our role as observers. When we measure a particle, we collapse its wave function, reducing its many possibilities into one. In this act, we participate in the writing of reality. This has led some to wonder if consciousness itself plays a role in shaping the world, if awareness is not merely passive but creative. Whether or not this is true, the metaphor is powerful. To pay attention is to change what we notice. To bring awareness is to bring something into being. The quantum ocean reminds us that observation is never neutral. It is always an act of participation, always a way of shaping the sea. We can also imagine the ocean as a place of rest. The surface of our daily lives is often turbulent, filled with noise and urgency. But beneath that surface lies a stillness, an endless depth where everything is softer, slower, quieter. The quantum sea, for all its mystery, is also a place of peace. It holds all possibilities, all futures, all stories, without hurry, without judgment. To meditate on this is to find comfort, to feel that no matter how uncertain life may be, there is always an underlying depth, always an ocean that carries us. The waves may rise and fall, but the sea itself remains, infinite and enduring. Let us picture the ocean one last time. Imagine yourself standing on a shore at dusk. The tide is rolling in, a wave breaking softly upon the sand. But beneath the visible waves lies a deeper ocean, invisible but present, an ocean that holds every possibility, every particle, every star. As you listen, you hear not only the surf, but the hidden hum of the quantum world, the lullaby of probabilities unfolding into reality. You realize that you are not apart from this sea. You are a wave upon its surface, a ripple that carries the story forward. And though you may rise and fall, the ocean continues, endless and eternal. As this story comes to its close, let us rest in its gentle lesson. Beneath reality lies an ocean of possibility. It is unseen, but it is real. It is uncertain, but it gives rise to all certainty. It is mysterious, but it is also comforting. To drift upon it is to live with wonder, to accept uncertainty as beauty, to see connection in separation, to hear whispers in silence. The ocean beneath reality is not a puzzle to be solved, but a song to be heard, a sea to be floated upon, a mystery to be cherished. And as we drift into stillness, we carry its quiet rhythm with us, a reminder that the universe itself is softer, wider, and more mysterious than we can ever fully know. There are threads in the universe that do not break, strands of connection so fine that no distance can undo them. They are not the ropes that bind ships, nor the strings that weave a garment, nor the vines that stretch through forests. These threads are quieter, invisible to the eye, yet woven into the very fabric of existence. Scientists call them entanglement, but we might think of them as the secret stitching of the cosmos. To pause and listen is to hear how everything that has ever touched remains in some way joined. The entangled threads do not unravel with time. They hum softly across space, carrying memory, carrying relation, carrying the silent truth that nothing is truly alone. The story begins with particles, those smallest building blocks of the world. When two particles meet, they sometimes become entangled, their properties intertwined. If one spins this way, the other spins that way, and their fates are linked, no matter how far they drift apart. They may travel across rooms, across planets, across galaxies, and still the connection holds. Change one, and the other responds instantly, as though the thread between them ignores distance altogether. This strangeness puzzled even Einstein, who called it spooky action at a distance. But experiment after experiment has shown it to be real. Entanglement is not a trick of theory. It is a truth whispered at the heart of reality. To understand this, let us imagine two dancers. They begin together, moving in perfect rhythm, steps aligned, gestures mirrored. Then one drifts to the far side of the stage and the other remains. Yet even across the distance, their movements stay bound as if the rhythm itself is their thread. One leaps, the other answers. One spins, the other responds. The space between them matters less than the bond that was formed in the beginning. This is entanglement, not a visible rope, but a shared pattern, an invisible music that binds two souls of matter into one dance. Entanglement stretches our understanding of separateness. We are used to thinking of things as distinct, this object and that one, this person and that person, this moment and the next. But the threads of entanglement remind us that separateness is an illusion. Beneath the surface, everything is connected. The photon of light that touched your eye may still hum with the particle it met long ago. The atoms in your breath may carry entanglements with atoms drifting in the stars. The threads weave endlessly, a hidden net that joins the near and the far, the now and the then. We are all caught within it, though we do not feel its threads. This truth challenges not only physics but also philosophy. What does it mean that two things can be one, even when apart? What does it mean that distance is not as real as we think, that the universe itself bends around hidden unity? Some interpretations suggest that entanglement shows us the deeper fabric of reality, a field of relations more fundamental than space and time themselves. In this view, space is not the stage on which particles move, but an emergent surface woven from the threads of connection. Time is not the river that carries events, but the rhythm that arises from entanglement's song. To drift into this idea is to imagine that beneath all things lies not matter, but relation, not objects, but the threads that bind them. And yet entanglement is not only a distant mystery, it has begun to shape the tools of our world. Quantum computers, which may one day solve problems beyond imagination, rely on entangled particles to process information. Quantum communication systems, designed to send messages that cannot be intercepted, weave their security from the threads of entanglement. These are not only theories but real technologies born from the quiet strangeness of connection. The threads that join particles across galaxies also guide the future of our machines, reminding us that mystery can be turned into practice, that whispers can become tools. But beyond technology, entanglement offers something more profound, a vision of togetherness. It tells us that the universe is not built from separate pieces, but from relationships. Each thing carries within it the memory of its connections, the echo of its encounters. Just as two particles remain bound after touching, so too do we remain bound to the moments and the people we have touched. memory, love, loss, friendship, all are echoes of entanglement, threads that tie us to others in ways unseen. The physics of particles becomes a metaphor for the physics of the heart, reminding us that we are woven not of isolation, but of bonds. Let us picture the threads themselves. Imagine a night sky, clear and vast, stars scattered like jewels. Now imagine that between each star runs a web of threads, invisible but strong, connecting every light to every other. The sky becomes not a scatter of points, but a woven tapestry. Entanglement is such a tapestry, though finer than any we can see. Each particle is a star, each thread a bond, and the whole universe is the fabric they form together. To look at the world this way is to see unity where once we saw division, to feel connection where once we felt distance. This vision softens how we see ourselves. We often feel alone, separated by space, by silence, by time. But the entangled threads tell another story, that even across vast distances, connection remains. The atoms in your body are joined by history to the stars that birthed them. The breath you take carries entanglements with air breathed by forests, by oceans, by others long before you. Even the thoughts you hold are sparked by neurons woven together in patterns of connection, entangling your present self with your past, and your past with what is yet to come. To realize this is to feel less like an island and more like a wave upon the sea. And so we come to the gentle heart of the story. Entanglement is not only a scientific phenomenon, it is a lesson whispered by the universe. It teaches us that nothing is truly alone, that every meeting leaves a bond, that every touch lingers beyond its moment. It tells us that separateness is an illusion, that the world is stitched together by invisible threads of relation. To know this is not to solve the mystery, but to rest within it, to feel its comfort, to recognize its beauty. The entangled threads of existence are the fabric of reality itself, and we are part of their weave, always joined, always connected, always part of the greater whole. To drift deeper into the entangled threads of existence is to feel the weight of connection pressing gently from all directions. It is like standing in a forest where every tree leans into another, every root twines through soil shared by countless others, every leaf breathes air that is not its own but part of a larger exchange. Nothing here is separate, though at a glance each tree seems alone. So it is in the quantum world. Beneath appearances of independence lies the truth of entanglement. Everything has touched and nothing truly lets go. The threads are hidden, yet they bind the cosmos into a single, shimmering whole. Physicists have shown this in countless ways. Take a pair of photons born from the same burst of energy. From their first moment, they are linked like twins sharing a heartbeat. Send one racing to the left, the other to the right, across mountains or oceans or even space itself, and their bond remains. Change the state of one, and the other reflects the change instantly. No signal crosses the distance, no messenger bridges the gap. Instead, the two are parts of one shared wave function, one extended existence that distance cannot sever. It is as though the universe itself whispers, separation is only surface, connection runs deeper. To picture this, imagine two ripples spreading across a pond. They begin together, their crests rising and falling in unison. Even as they spread apart, their patterns remain aligned, the rhythm of their birth still guiding their motion. Entanglement is such a rhythm, though subtler, quieter, invisible to the naked eye. It is the memory of unity that continues beyond separation, the hidden choreography of particles that never truly drift alone. To recognize this is to recognize that the universe is not built of isolated events, but of relationships that endure. This endurance has consequences that ripple through our understanding of reality. If particles can remain linked across distance, then what is distance? If their fates are shared instantly, then what is time? Some scientists argue that entanglement reveals a deeper layer beneath space and time, a fabric of relationships from which space and time emerge. In this view, location is not fundamental. What matters is connection, the web of entanglements that stitches the cosmos together. Space is the surface, but entanglement is the weave beneath it. To contemplate this is to feel as though the universe is less a machine and more a tapestry, every thread crossing countless others, every knot a meeting of relations. The ocean of entanglement also reshapes how we imagine ourselves. We walk through life believing we are individuals, separate beings enclosed within skin, carrying private thoughts. Yet if the particles of our bodies are entangled with the wider world, then we are less isolated than we believe. Each breath brings air once breathed by forests, mountains, oceans, and others before us. Each atom of our bones was forged in a star, entangled with the fire of suns long gone. Each memory we hold is sparked by neurons that hum with the rhythms of chance, entangled with moments past and future. To be alive is to be entangled, woven into a web larger than any single self. This is not only poetic but practical. Technologies now rise from entanglement, transforming whispers of physics into tools. Quantum computers harness entanglement to link qubits, allowing them to process many possibilities at once. Entangled photons are used in experiments of quantum communication, sending messages so secure they cannot be intercepted, for any attempt to spy would break the delicate threads. These technologies are still young, but they show us how the hidden fabric can be touched, how the threads can be plucked like strings to create new songs of knowledge. The future may well be woven by our growing ability to borrow from the entangled weave. But for all the science, entanglement also carries a human resonance. It tells us that connection is not limited by distance. Just as two particles can remain linked across the stars, so too can we feel tied to those far away. Love persists across oceans. Memory endures across years. The bonds we share are not erased by absence, but remain as threads woven into the heart. Entanglement gives us a language for this truth, a metaphor for the ways we remain joined. To say that two souls are entangled is to recognize that their meeting left a mark that cannot be undone, that the thread between them hums quietly even when silence falls. There are those who wonder if entanglement stretches beyond physics into the fabric of consciousness itself. Could our thoughts, our minds, be shaped by hidden connections? Could awareness itself be entangled with the universe it observes? These questions do not yet have answers, but they invite us to imagine awareness not as an isolated flame, but as part of a wider fire, each spark connected by invisible heat. Whether or not entanglement touches thought directly, it reminds us of the humility required in understanding. What we see is only part of the whole. The true fabric stretches beyond, subtle and mysterious, holding more than we yet know. To reflect on entanglement is also to reflect on memory. When we meet someone, when we share a moment, it does not vanish with time. The encounter leaves a trace, a thread that lingers. Just as particles carry their connection forward, so do we. The laugh of a friend, the embrace of a parent, the glance of a stranger, all become part of the fabric of who we are. These threads may stretch, they may fade, but they do not truly break. They hum quietly in the background of our lives, reminding us that to touch another is to be changed forever. The physics of entanglement and the poetry of memory are reflections of the same truth, that nothing is truly separate and nothing is ever fully lost. And so we find ourselves floating in a web that is both scientific and spiritual, physical and metaphorical. Entanglement is a principle of particles, but it is also a lesson for hearts. It shows us that unity underlies division, that connection endures beyond separation, that the universe itself is a single fabric. To live with this awareness is to walk more gently, to see more deeply, to recognize that every action ripples outward through the threads. We are not islands, but intersections. We are not separate, but shared. The entangled threads of existence carry us, bind us, and remind us that we belong. As this section drifts toward its close, imagine yourself caught in a web of light. Each thread glows faintly, stretching out in every direction, vanishing into infinity. Some threads bind you to the people you know. Others bind you to stars you have never seen. Still others stretch through time, connecting you to ancestors long gone and to descendants not yet born. You are not standing in isolation, but in the center of this vast weave, held gently by countless threads. And as you breathe, as you rest, as you simply exist, the threads hum softly, carrying the quiet truth of entanglement, that everything is bound, that nothing is alone, that existence itself is the fabric of connection. To linger still with the entangled. Threads of existence is to feel their quiet persistence, stretching beyond what the eye can see, beyond what thought can easily grasp. These threads are not woven of fiber nor of matter but of relation. They hum across the universe, whispering that the deepest truth is not separateness but unity. And as we sit with this, as we breathe within it, we begin to sense that the world itself is a tapestry woven from connections too delicate to unravel, too enduring to fade. The threads are everywhere, binding atoms, binding stars, binding hearts. At first glance, the world seems built from objects. A stone rests on the ground, a tree grows beside it, a bird sings above. Each appears distinct, enclosed in its own boundaries. But entanglement tells another story, that what matters most is not the objects themselves, but the ways they are joined. The stone and the tree and the bird are not separate notes, but parts of a single song. Their fates are entangled through the soil they share, through the air they breathe, through the history of the cosmos that shaped them. And when we look more closely, we see that we too are part of this chorus, another thread in the fabric, another note in the melody. Physics shows this with clarity that borders on poetry. When two particles are entangled, their states are not independent. They are described by one shared equation, one shared wave function that stretches across space. Measure one and you reveal the other. Change one and you know the other instantly. The universe does not see them as separate, it sees them as one. To accept this is to see that individuality is softer than we imagine. Beneath the skin of separateness lies the truth of connection. We are not only ourselves, we are part of a larger weave, a web of relations that defines what we are. The implications are profound. If entanglement can join particles across galaxies, then perhaps the universe is less like a collection of stars and more like a single organism. Each part hums with the others, each piece reflects the whole. The distances between stars may be vast, but the threads of entanglement remind us that distance is not the same as disconnection. The cosmos itself may be a single body, its parts bound by ties we cannot see but which persist nonetheless. To rest in this vision is to feel less small, less isolated, more part of the whole unfolding of existence. Some thinkers suggest that entanglement may be the foundation of reality itself. That space and time are not the stage upon which particles move, but the patterns that emerge from entanglement's web. In this view, the universe is not made of things, but of relations. The threads come first, and the world we see is the fabric they form. It is a radical thought, but a gentle one, for it means that nothing exists in isolation, that to exist at all is to be connected. And in this light, entanglement is not an exception, but the rule, the quiet principle that shapes everything. Beyond theory, entanglement has also become practice. Quantum experiments now use entangled photons to test the limits of reality. Quantum networks weave threads of light across cities, promising unbreakable communication. Quantum computers harness entangled qubits to solve problems beyond the reach of classical machines. These are early steps, small ripples upon a vast sea, but they show us how the hidden threads can be touched, how the whispers of the universe can become tools. And yet, even as we build from them, the mystery remains. The threads are real, but their meaning still eludes us. We can use them, but we cannot yet fully understand them. But perhaps understanding is not the point. The entangled threads of existence invite us not only to think, but to feel. They remind us that unity is more fundamental than separation, that connection is more enduring than isolation. Just as two particles remain bound across distance, so too do we remain bound to those we love, to those we have touched, to those who have touched us. Even when far apart, even when years have passed, the threads remain. They hum in memory, in longing, in quiet joy. To know this is to find comfort, to feel that nothing is ever fully lost, that connection endures beyond time and space. This vision also softens how we see the challenges of life. When we feel alone, entanglement reminds us that we are always connected. When we feel insignificant, it reminds us that we are part of the cosmos itself, woven into its fabric. When we feel uncertain, it reminds us that uncertainty is not emptiness but possibility. The threads do not erase our struggles, but they hold us within a larger whole, a context that is both comforting and humbling. They whisper that our story is not ours alone, but part of a tapestry that stretches across the universe. Let us imagine the threads once more. Picture yourself lying beneath the night sky, the stars scattered above like countless sparks. At first, they seem far apart, silent, distant, but then you imagine the threads, invisible lines of connection weaving between them, binding every light to every other. The sky becomes not a scatter, but a web, a vast net shimmering with relation. And then you realize you are part of this web too. The atoms in your body were born in those stars. The breath in your lungs carries the echo of their fire. The thoughts in your mind arise from neurons entangled in patterns too subtle to see. You are not outside the fabric, but within it, another knot, another crossing of threads. As this story closes, let us rest with its lesson. The entangled threads of existence are not a puzzle to be solved, but a truth to be lived. They tell us that nothing is alone, that everything is bound, that to exist is to be connected. They remind us that unity lies beneath division, that memory lingers beyond time, that relation is the essence of reality. To honor them is to live with gentleness, to see the bonds that join us, to cherish the connections we share. The universe is not a collection of isolated points. It is a fabric, a tapestry, a web. And as we listen to the soft hum of its threads, we find comfort, wonder, and peace in knowing that we are part of the whole, forever joined, forever entangled. Empty space. At first, the word seems simple, almost plain. We picture a room once filled but now cleared, a vessel waiting to be filled again, a silence between sounds. To us, emptiness often means absence, a hollow without meaning. But in the language of physics, empty space is never truly empty. Beneath its quiet face lies a secret, a restless silence alive with motion, with energy, with whispers too small for the senses to catch. To dwell upon this silence is to discover that nothing is ever truly nothing, and that what we call emptiness may in fact be the greatest fullness of all. When we gaze into the night sky, we see stars burning, galaxies scattered like jewels, planets drifting in slow arcs. But between them stretches vastness, immense distances where there appears to be nothing at all. This cosmic emptiness seems to dominate the universe. Yet science tells us that this silence is not void. It is alive with invisible fields, with the hum of virtual particles rising and falling like bubbles in deep water. Even the vacuum, which we imagine as absolute stillness, is a restless sea. The silence of space carries more energy than any star, though it hides it in ways we do not yet fully understand. Imagine holding a cup of clear water. To the eye it seems smooth, featureless, empty of movement. But at the smallest scale, molecules jostle and collide, rushing and vibrating ceaselessly. The stillness is only an illusion, so it is with space itself. Even when stripped of all particles, all radiation, all matter, space is never truly empty. Quantum fields stretch across it, invisible scaffolding that shapes reality. Within these fields, virtual particles flicker in and out of being, born and gone again in times so brief they can barely be named. They leave traces in the forces that bind atoms, in the spread of galaxies, in the very expansion of the cosmos. The silence of space is never silent. It hums with hidden life. This hidden life is not chaos, but pattern. The vacuum is structured, filled with energy that shapes the very laws of physics. The electromagnetic field, the Higgs field, the fields that carry the strong and weak forces, all are woven into the fabric of empty space. They are not visitors within it, but part of its very essence. To remove them would be to remove reality itself. In this sense, what we call emptiness is actually foundation, the stage upon which the play of existence unfolds. Without the silence of space, there would be no particles, no atoms, no stars, no us. The emptiness is not absence, but possibility waiting to take form. Consider the Casimir effect, one of the quiet proofs of the vacuum's hidden life. Place two mirrors closed together in empty space, and the vacuum between them behaves differently than the vacuum outside. Virtual particles flickering everywhere cannot fit all their possibilities between the mirrors, and so a subtle force pushes them together. Nothing, it turns out, can push. The silence of space exerts a pressure born from its own restless hum. This experiment reminds us that emptiness is not void, but presence, a presence so subtle we overlook it, yet so real it can move objects, bend reality, shape the world. And beyond shaping the small, empty space shapes the large. Astronomers studying the expansion of the universe discovered that galaxies are not only drifting apart, but accelerating away from each other. Some unseen force pushes the cosmos outward, stronger than gravity, stronger than the pull of matter. We call it dark energy, but perhaps it is the energy of the vacuum itself, the hidden fullness of space stretching the universe wider and wider. In this way, the silence of emptiness is not passive, it is the driving force of cosmic destiny, shaping the future of galaxies and stars, deciding whether the universe will expand forever or fold back into itself. The quiet of space holds the loudest truth of all. To sit with this is to see emptiness differently. What we thought of as absence becomes fullness. What we thought of as silence becomes hum. What we thought of as void becomes foundation. Empty space is the canvas upon which existence is painted, but it is also the paint itself, the brushstrokes, the hidden hand. Without it there is nothing, but within it lies everything. To meditate on this is to feel awe at the subtlety of reality, the way it hides its greatest truths behind the mask of simplicity. This vision also changes how we think about silence in our lives. Often we avoid silence, filling it with sound, with words, with movement. But silence too is alive. Within it, thoughts rise and fall, emotions flicker and fade, new possibilities are born. Just as the vacuum hums with unseen particles, our silences hum with unseen potential. To sit in silence is not to sit in nothing, but to sit in the deepest something, a field of possibility from which new patterns can emerge. The physics of space becomes a metaphor for the physics of being, reminding us that emptiness is never truly empty. And so the secret of empty space is also a comfort. It tells us that nothingness is not something to fear, for it is not truly nothing. It is fullness in disguise, a foundation that cannot be lost. When we gaze into the dark between stars, we are not staring into a void, but into the womb of existence itself, the hidden field from which all arises. When we sit in stillness, we are not lost in absence, but resting within the hum of possibility. The silence is not empty. It is alive, eternal, and full. As this section closes, imagine yourself floating in the vastness of space. Stars shimmer far away, but around you stretches what seems to be endless dark. At first it feels like void, a hollow silence without sound or touch. But as you linger, you begin to sense the hum beneath the silence, the fullness within the emptiness. You realize that you are not surrounded by nothing, but by everything in potential, by fields, by fluctuations, by the hidden fabric that holds the cosmos. You drift not in emptiness, but in foundation. And the silence that surrounds you is no longer frightening, but soothing, reminding you that beneath all appearances of nothing lies the secret fullness of space. To move deeper into the secret silence of empty space is to discover how rich silence can be. We are used to thinking of fullness as sound, as movement, as form, and of emptiness as absence. Yet in the physics of the very small and the very vast, emptiness is revealed as the most active field of all. It is as though space itself is a loom, its threads invisible, its weaving constant, shaping the fabric of existence in every breath, every flicker of light, every spark of matter. This silence is not the pause between notes, but the resonance that allows music to be heard at all. Physicists describe the vacuum as a place where quantum fields ripple even when undisturbed. These fields are like oceans that cannot be calmed. Even in their quietest state, they shimmer with fluctuations. Pairs of virtual particles emerge from the silence, exist for the briefest moment, then vanish back into it. Though they cannot be seen directly, their presence can be felt, measured, and even used. They are the whispers of space itself, appearing and disappearing with a rhythm older than time. The vacuum is not a hollow, but a stage where possibility endlessly rises and falls, unseen yet always present. Imagine standing on the edge of the sea at dawn. At first the surface seems still, glassy, without motion. But if you watch closely, you notice tiny ripples, small swells, the breath of tides moving beneath. The vacuum is like this sea. To the naked eye, it appears empty. But to those who listen with the instruments of science, it is alive with motion, restless and eternal. This is why the silence of space is never truly silent. It hums with potential, with fluctuations that guide the behavior of atoms and the growth of galaxies. This fullness of emptiness can be measured in surprising ways. One of the most elegant examples is the Lamb shift, a subtle change in the energy levels of electrons within atoms. This shift arises not from the electrons themselves, but from their interactions with the fluctuating vacuum around them. The electron dances with the silence, and the dance changes its rhythm. Without these fluctuations, atoms would behave differently, and chemistry itself might not unfold as it does. Life as we know it depends upon the fullness of emptiness. The silence of space is written into every cell, every molecule, every thought. The Higgs field provides another profound example. For decades, physicists wondered why particles V-mass, why they resist motion, why they feel heavy at all. The answer lies not in the particles themselves, but in the invisible field that fills all of space. This Higgs field, woven into the vacuum, endows particles with mass as they move through it, like swimmers pushing against water. Without it, matter would drift massless, unable to form atoms, unable to build stars or planets or people. The silence of empty space is what gives substance to everything. What appears as absence is, in truth, the very reason anything exists at all. These hidden truths also reshape how we see the cosmos. The stars, brilliant and fiery, are dramatic. The galaxies, vast and spiraling, are breathtaking. But the majority of the universe is not stars or galaxies, but space. And this space, once thought void, is the true stage upon which everything rests. Its silence cradles the drama of creation. Its fluctuations shape the past, present, and future of the cosmos. Without it, there would be no stage, no play, no light, no song. The silence of empty space is the most essential presence, though it hides in plain sight. Dark energy is perhaps the grandest whisper of the vacuum. In the late 20th century, astronomers discovered that the universe is not only expanding, but accelerating. Galaxies are pushed apart by a force stronger than gravity, stronger than the mass of all stars. This mysterious pressure seems to come from the vacuum itself, from the hidden energy of empty space. We do not yet fully understand it, but we know its effect. It is stretching the cosmos wider and wider, carrying galaxies away from each other like leaves scattered by a gentle wind. If this continues, the future of the universe will be shaped not by stars or matter, but by the silence of empty space itself. The quiet will decide the destiny of all. To contemplate this is to feel awe at the subtlety of reality. The most powerful force may not be fire or explosion, but silence. The emptiness between stars holds more sway than the stars themselves. The absence we once overlooked turns out to be the foundation of everything. This flips our sense of meaning. What seems insignificant may hold the greatest importance. What seems empty may be most full. The silence of space is not an absence to ignore, but a fullness to revere. And yet this silence is not foreign to us. We carry it within ourselves. The atoms that form our bodies are mostly empty space, their nuclei tiny compared to the vast clouds around them. When you press your hand against a table, what you feel as solidity is not matter, but the repulsion of invisible fields, the hum of emptiness holding you up. Your body is not solid stone, but a lacework of emptiness woven with whispers of energy. You are made of silence as much as of substance, a being composed of the very secret the universe hides in plain sight. This thought softens how we view silence in our own lives. The pauses between words, the stillness between breaths, the quiet moments when nothing seems to happen, these are not voids. They are fullness in disguise, carrying potential, allowing meaning to emerge. Just as music needs silence to give shape to sound, our lives need silence to give shape to experience. To sit quietly, to dwell in stillness, is to rest within the fullness of emptiness, the same fullness that carries galaxies apart, that endows particles with mass, that hums beneath every star. As this section closes, imagine sitting within a vast cathedral of space. The walls are invisible, the ceiling endless, the floor without edge. At first, it seems empty. But then, as your awareness deepens, you begin to sense the quiet hum, the soft pulse of fields and fluctuations, the secret music of the vacuum. You realize that this silence is not absence but presence, not void but foundation, not hollow but whole. You are surrounded not by nothing, but by everything in potential, by the fabric from which all arises. And as you rest in that realization, the silence becomes comforting, reminding you that the emptiness you fear is in truth the fullness that sustains. To linger still within the silence of empty space is to enter a deeper kind of listening. At first it feels as though there is nothing to hear, nothing to feel, nothing to touch. But as the mind softens, as the heart grows patient, the silence begins to reveal its texture. It is not a blank canvas, but a living weave. The emptiness is not absence, but foundation, not hollow, but whole. To dwell within it is to sense that the most powerful truths are often those that hide beneath appearances, waiting quietly for us to notice. The ancient philosophers once debated whether nothingness could exist at all. Some believed that a true void was impossible, that the universe must always be filled with substance. Others imagined that emptiness was the natural state, and that matter was only interruption. Modern physics tells us something in between, that emptiness exists, but it is not nothing. It is filled with invisible fields, restless energy, fluctuations that never cease. The vacuum is not barren but abundant. It is not still but trembling. Even in its quietest state, it hums with the potential for creation. From the silence of space, stars are born. From the silence of space, galaxies drift. From the silence of space, reality itself arises. This silence is also timeless. When we imagine the birth of the universe, we often picture a great explosion, the Big Bang, a moment of fire and expansion. But what lay beneath that first moment? Some theories suggest it was the vacuum itself, the silence of space, that gave rise to the first burst of creation. A fluctuation in the emptiness may have bloomed into everything we know: time, space, matter, light. In this view, the universe did not come from nothing, but from silence, from the fullness hidden within emptiness. And as the cosmos expands and evolves, it is still the vacuum, the quiet hum of space, that shapes its destiny. The silence of space is also infinite. No matter how far we travel, no matter how many galaxies we map, there is always more emptiness stretching beyond. Stars burn for billions of years, but eventually fade. Galaxies collide, but then drift apart. Even black holes, those densest knots of matter, will one day dissolve into the silence. What remains is the vacuum, the endless fabric, the stillness beneath all change. To reflect on this is to feel both small and eternal. Small because our lives are brief ripples upon the vast sea. Eternal because we too are woven from the silence, and in it we remain even when the ripples fade. And yet this silence is not distant from us. It is within us. Between the nucleus and the electrons of every atom lies emptiness, vast compared to the size of the particles themselves. You are made of space as much as substance. Your body is more silence than matter, more vacuum than solid. What you call solidity is the hum of fields, the quiet resistance of emptiness holding form. To know this is to realize that the silence of space is not out there, but here, in your bones, in your breath, in the very thoughts that drift through your mind. You carry the universe's silence within you. This realization can soften how we move through life. We often fear emptiness, empty rooms, empty hours, empty feelings. But the physics of space reminds us that emptiness is not lack but possibility. Just as the vacuum hums with fluctuations, so too do our silences hum with potential. A pause is not wasted. It is a moment in which new patterns can emerge. Stillness is not absence. It is the ground from which movement takes shape. Silence is not hollow. It is the resonance that makes music possible. To embrace emptiness is to embrace the hidden fullness that sustains everything. In this way, the science of space becomes a metaphor for the spirit. The Casimir effect, the Higgs field, the fluctuations of the vacuum, These are not only scientific curiosities but reminders of a deeper truth, that what we call nothing is never nothing. That absence is presence in disguise. That silence holds more than noise ever could. To meditate on this is to find comfort in stillness, to see beauty in pauses, to feel wholeness in the spaces between. The silence of empty space also invites us to reflect on endings. We know that stars die, galaxies fade, even universes may one day grow cold. It is easy to see this as loss, as emptiness swallowing all. But if emptiness itself is fullness, then even endings are not void. They are returns to the silence, to the foundation that always remains. Just as particles flicker in and out of existence within the vacuum, so too may universes rise and fall, born from silence, returning to silence, born again. In this view, nothing is ever truly lost. All things dissolve back into the fabric that carries them, and from that fabric new things arise. Let us imagine this silence one last time. Picture yourself drifting in space, far from planets, far from stars. Around you stretches darkness without end. At first it feels lonely, even frightening. But then you remember what lies beneath. The darkness is not void but presence. The silence is not empty but full. Invisible fields stretch in every direction, cradling you, holding you, humming softly with the possibility of everything. You are not lost in nothingness. You are floating in the foundation of reality, the silence that sustains all, the emptiness that is not empty at all. As this story closes, let us rest in the comfort of that thought. Empty space is not nothing. It is the quiet strength of existence, the hum beneath creation, the silence that holds all things. It is a reminder that even when we feel hollow, we are not truly empty. We are full of unseen life, full of hidden possibility, full of the same silence that carries the stars. To embrace this is to live with wonder, to find peace in stillness, to know that Benny. Ath all appearances of nothing lies the greatest fullness of all. And as we breathe into this truth, the silence becomes not a void, but a lullaby, steady and eternal, carrying us gently into rest. Time, we live within it, carried by its current from birth to death, from dawn to dusk, from memory to anticipation. To us, it feels steady, like the ticking of a clock, the swing of a pendulum, the rising and setting of the sun. Yet when we peer through the lens of quantum physics, this steady march softens. The rhythm of time, which seems so rigid in our days, becomes a shimmering uncertainty at the smallest scales. It is as though the gears of the universe, which we imagined turning with perfect precision, are instead softened by probability, their teeth blurring into waves, their ticking into whispers. To look at time through the quantum lens is to see that the clockwork of reality is not carved in stone, but written in fluid script. In our ordinary lives, time seems linear. The past is behind us, fixed and unchanging. The present is here, sharp and immediate. The future is ahead, unknown but waiting. This arrow of time is so familiar that we rarely question it, but in the realm of the quantum, the arrow wavers. Particles do not always follow neat sequences. They decay unpredictably, tunnel through barriers they should not cross, move backward and forward in ways that defy common sense. For them, time is not a straight path but a haze, a cloud of possibilities. To measure them is to reveal one outcome, but until then they exist in a shimmer of maybes, their clocks unwound, their gears blurred. Consider radioactive decay, the quiet transformation of unstable atoms into more stable forms. No scientist can predict the exact moment when a single atom will change. It may happen in a second, or in an hour, or in a year. The best we can do is speak in probabilities, in half-lives, in averages across countless atoms. This uncertainty is not from ignorance, but from the very nature of reality. The atom itself carries no clock that we can read, no schedule we can consult. It waits in superposition, balanced between now and later, until the moment of transformation blooms. Time here is not certainty, but chance. At the heart of this softness lies the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which tells us that certain pairs of properties cannot be known precisely at the same time. Position and momentum, energy and time, they blur into one another, resisting exactness. To measure one sharply is to lose clarity in the other. This is not a failure of our instruments, but a law of nature itself. Time, in this sense, is not the rigid backdrop we once imagined, but a partner in the dance of uncertainty. Its rhythm is not fixed, but flexible, shaped by the probabilities that govern the quantum world. This flexibility raises questions that stretch beyond physics. If time itself is uncertain, then what does it mean for cause and effect? If particles can move backward in time, as some interpretations suggest, then is the arrow of time an illusion born from our perspective? Some theories whisper that the universe is timeless at its deepest level, that the flow of moments is something that emerges only when we, as observers, step into the web of entanglement. In this view, time is not a river flowing past us, but a tapestry woven all at once, every thread already present, every moment existing together. We, moving through it, experience the illusion of flow, like travelers moving across a landscape that is already complete. Yet, though these ideas are strange, they do not rob time of its meaning. Instead, they enrich it. To see time as uncertain is to see it as alive. It is not a machine grinding forward, but a sea shimmering with possibility. The unpredictability of decay, the tunneling of particles, the flexibility of the arrow all remind us that the future is not fixed. It is soft, open, waiting. Just as the quantum world resists certainty, so too do our lives. We cannot predict every turn, every event, every transformation. But this is not weakness. It is freedom. It is the openness that allows novelty, creativity, change. This openness connects us more deeply to the cosmos. The ticking of our own lives, the rhythms of memory and anticipation, mirror the uncertainty of the quantum clockwork. We make choices without knowing the outcomes. We wait for events without knowing the timing. We live within probabilities, not certainties. Our stories unfold not like scripts written in advance, but like songs improvised moment by moment. To see this is to feel kinship with the particles themselves, to recognize that we too are woven into the soft rhythm of uncertainty, carried by the same shimmering currents that shape atoms and stars. And so the clockwork of uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It teaches us that time is not rigid but flexible, not predetermined but open. It invites us to live not in sea, arch of absolute certainty, but in appreciation of possibility. To rest within this thought is to feel peace. For if the future is not fixed, then it is always full of potential. If the arrow of time wavers, then even endings are softer than they seem. And if the gears of the universe are blurred by probability, then life itself is less a march of inevitability and more a dance of chance. As this section closes, imagine a great cosmic clock. Its face is vast, its hands sweeping across eternity. At first it seems precise, each tick rigid, each moment separate. But as you look more closely, the hands shimmer, the gears blur, the ticking softens into a hum. You realize that the clock is not mechanical but quantum. Its rhythm is uncertain, its movement alive with probability. And as you listen to its hum, you hear not rigidity but freedom, not inevitability but openness. This is the clockwork of uncertainty, not a prison, but a song, not a chain, but a sea, carrying you gently through the possibilities of time. To sink further into the clockwork of uncertainty is to notice how time itself feels different when seen through the lens of quantum physics. What we once thought of as a rigid march becomes more like a shimmering mist. Instead of seconds ticking with mechanical certainty, we find probabilities flowing like water, soft, yielding, alive. Time does not appear as a single straight line, but as a haze of paths, a weave of possibilities that stretch into the unknown. To dwell here is to learn that time is not only a measure, but also a mystery, one that bends and softens beneath our gaze. Let us return to the idea of decay, the quiet transformation of unstable atoms. Each atom waits in silence, balanced between what it is and what it may become. We cannot predict when it will change. All we can say is how likely it is within a given stretch of time. Millions of atoms together form predictable patterns, half-lives that can be measured with precision. But at the level of the individual, time itself feels uncertain. This uncertainty is not ignorance, not hidden clocks beyond our reach, but the very essence of the atom's being. Its transformation is not predetermined but possible. Each moment is a question waiting for an answer. Each second is an open door. The atom does not walk a fixed path but drifts in a haze of futures until one becomes real. This softness extends to the very energy of particles. According to the uncertainty principle, energy and time share a delicate balance. If the time of a particle's existence is brief, then its energy can fluctuate widely. Virtual particles appear and vanish in the vacuum, borrowing energy from time itself, repaying it as they dissolve. These fluctuations ripple across the universe, shaping forces, guiding interactions, altering the rhythm of reality. Time, in this sense, is not a rigid backdrop, but a partner in exchange, a canvas upon which energy paints fleeting forms. It is less clock and more ocean, its currents carrying particles into being and out again. Such ideas invite us to rethink causality, that steady chain we rely upon to make sense of the world. If particles can move backward in time, even for the briefest moment, then cause and effect are not as simple as we imagine. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that the future can influence the past, that reality is not written in one direction but shaped from both ends, like a thread pulled tight from two sides. This challenges our intuition, but it also opens a deeper vision. That time may be a whole, a tapestry already woven, rather than a line unspooling. We move through it as if it were flowing, but perhaps it is already complete, every moment present together in silence. Relativity, too, joins this softening of time. Einstein showed us that time is not absolute, but relative to speed and gravity. A clock on a mountain ticks faster than one in a valley. A clock on a spaceship races differently than one on Earth. Time bends and stretches, warps and sways, depending on where and how it is measured. Quantum mechanics deepens this pliability. At small scales, time is not only flexible but uncertain. The very act of measuring can shape what we find. The ticking of the universe is not uniform, but alive with variation. To live within it is to live not in certainty, but in a harmony of chance. When we reflect upon this, we see that our own experience mirrors the quantum truth. Time in our lives is not steady. Moments of joy seem to race by, while moments of waiting stretch into long rivers. Memory reshapes the past each time we recall it, softening some edges, sharpening others. Anticipation alters the future before it arrives, coloring it with hope or with worry. The clock on the wall may tick evenly, but the clock within us does not. We live in uncertainty, our sense of time softened by feeling, by attention, by meaning. The quantum world, with its shimmering probabilities, is not as far from us as it first appears. This uncertainty is not emptiness, but richness. It allows creativity, novelty, surprise. If every atom decayed on schedule, if every particle followed a predetermined path, the universe would be rigid, lifeless, without variation. Instead, uncertainty breathes possibility into existence. It allows galaxies to form, stars to shine, life to evolve, thought to arise. The unpredictability of time at small scales ripples outward into the vast structures of the cosmos. We are here because the universe is not certain, because its clockwork is soft. What seems fragile is in truth fertile. What seems uncertain is the source of everything new. Scientists seek to capture this uncertainty in equations, to describe it in probabilities, to harness it in technologies. Quantum clocks, built upon the oscillations of atoms, measure time with astonishing precision, yet even they must reckon with uncertainty at the deepest level. Quantum computers may one day use superposition and entanglement to explore countless possibilities at once, their workings shaped by the very softness of time and energy. These are not only instruments, but reflections of the deeper truth. That time is not fixed, but fluid, and that to live within it is to navigate a sea of probabilities rather than walk a path of certainties. But beyond the equations and the instruments lies the poetry of the idea. To know that time is uncertain is to see our lives differently. The future is not written, but open. Each moment is not inevitable, but possible. We live not in a clock that winds down, but in a field of chances unfolding. This is a comfort, for it means that change is always possible, that nothing is fixed beyond reach, that hope is always alive. The clockwork of uncertainty is not a cage, but a promise, a reminder that even the smallest events carry openness, and that openness allows beauty. As this section drifts toward its close, imagine standing before a great clock tower. Its face glows softly, its hands sweep in silence. At first it seems precise, every tick exact, every gear sure. But as you look closer, the hands blur, the ticks soften, the gears shimmer with possibility. The clock is not rigid but quantum, its rhythm uncertain, its motion alive with chance. And as you listen, you hear not inevitability but freedom, not rigidity but openness. This is the clockwork of uncertainty, the gentle truth that time itself is softer than we thought, and that within that softness lies the possibility of all things. To linger still with the clockwork of uncertainty is to see time not as a chain of inevitabilities, but as a living fabric that trembles with possibility. What we once thought to be the most solid and unquestionable of all realities, the steady flow of past into present into future, reveals itself to be soft, uncertain, shimmering. It is as though the universe carries a great clock, but its gears are made of clouds, its hands of light, its ticking a hum too subtle to bind. And within this softness lies a beauty, a freedom, a reminder that the story of time is not fixed but forever unfolding. At the heart of this softness is the idea that time itself may not exist in the way we imagine. Some physicists suggest that time is not fundamental, but emergent, arising from the entanglement of particles, from the relationships that weave the universe together. If this is so, then time is less like a river and more like a tapestry, woven from threads of connection. Each moment is not separate from the others, but part of a greater whole, already present, already complete. We move through this tapestry as though it were unfolding, but perhaps it already lies before us, every thread shimmering in the quiet of being. The clockwork, then, is not a machine that turns, but a pattern that holds, soft yet eternal. Quantum mechanics reinforces this view by reminding us that the future is not predetermined. In the world of particles, outcomes exist as probabilities until observed. A photon may take this path or that, an electron may spin one way or another, an atom may decay now or later. The future branches in countless directions, and only when observed does one branch bloom into reality. This uncertainty is not a flaw to be corrected, but a feature of the universe itself. Time, at its core, is not a strict progression, but an openness, a haze of possibilities that allows novelty and change. It is the uncertainty of the quantum clockwork that gives birth to creativity, to freedom, to life itself. This openness also changes how we see endings. We often think of time as a march toward finality, toward death, toward silence. But if the future is uncertain, if the arrow of time is not absolute, then endings are softer than we fear. Death may be less an end than a transformation, a return to the silence from which all things arise. The universe itself, though destined to expand or collapse, may one day recycle through its uncertainty, birthing new forms from the silence of old. Time, in this sense, is not a straight path to finality, but a cycle of possibilities, a rhythm that forever hums with potential. To see it this way is to rest more gently within it, less afraid, more open to the beauty of impermanence. Even our memories reflect this softness. Neuroscience shows that memory is not fixed, but rewritten each time it is recalled, reshaped by emotion and context. The past itself, though seemingly firm, is uncertain within us. It shifts, it bends, it evolves, just as the future does. We live within this uncertainty without realizing it, carrying pasts that are not absolute, futures that are not guaranteed, presents that are not fixed but trembling. And yet it is this very trembling that gives life its texture. Certainty would be rigid, lifeless, a statue. Uncertainty is living, breathing, alive. The philosophy of time has always wrestled with this softness. Ancient thinkers debated whether time flows or whether all moments exist together. Some spoke of eternalism, the idea that past, present, and future are equally real, that time is a landscape already spread. Others argued for presentism, that only the now exists and the past and future are illusions. Quantum physics adds its own voice to this ancient debate, whispering that perhaps both are true in their own way. that the landscape exists, but the act of observation shapes the path we walk through it. The uncertainty of time allows both the whole and the moment, both the already and the not yet. It is paradox, but also poetry. Technology, too, reflects the softness of time. Quantum clocks, among the most precise instruments ever made, can measure seconds with unimaginable accuracy. Yet even they must bow to uncertainty at the deepest levels. No matter how fine the gears, no matter how sharp the measurement, the quantum nature of particles means that the ticking of the universe cannot be perfectly pinned. There will always be a shimmer, a blur, a softness. The most precise clock in the world still hums with uncertainty, reminding us that time itself is never fully caught, never fully bound. The clockwork is not steel, but mist, and mist cannot be caged. And so we come to the gentle heart of the story. That uncertainty is not an enemy, but a gift. Without it, the universe would be rigid and lifeless. With it, there is openness, freedom, creativity, beauty. The clockwork of uncertainty teaches us that life is not a script written in advance, but a song improvised as it is sung. Each moment carries countless possibilities, and within uncertainty lies the power to change, to grow, to love, to dream. The softness of time is not a flaw, but the very reason we exist at all. As we bring this story to rest, imagine once more the great cosmic clock. Its face glows softly in the dark, its hands sweep across eternity. At first it seems rigid, every tick precise, every moment fixed. But as you look closer, you see the hands shimmer, the gears blur, the ticks soften into hums of possibility. You realize that the clock is not made of brass and iron, but of waves and chance, of probabilities and dreams. It does not imprison you in inevitability. It carries you gently in openness. The clockwork of uncertainty is not a chain, but a sea. And as you drift upon its waters, you find peace, knowing that time itself is softer, freer, and more mysterious than you ever imagined.